Welcome to The Explainer. Today, we're diving into an incredibly serious global issue. But more importantly, we're going to look at a genuinely innovative, grassroots solution that's actively changing lives right now. We're talking about a project that literally defies borders to provide sanctuary for survivors of violence. And to really grasp why this matters so much, we first need to understand the sheer scale of the problem we're up against.
So here's the reality. Globally, an estimated 1 in 3 women have been subjected to physical or sexual intimate partner violence, non-partner sexual violence, or both, at least once in their life. 1 in 3. We're not just looking at cold data points here. We're talking about a pervasive systemic reality that touches literally every single community on Earth.
When you translate that fraction into an actual headcount, the scale is just breathtaking. That 1 in 3 statistic, it represents an estimated 736 million women worldwide. 736 million. It's a number so massive, it's honestly hard to wrap your head around, right? It absolutely screams that there's an urgent need for support, for safe spaces, and for real structural change. But as we're going to see, the resources actually available to these 736 million people are often just totally missing.
Now, you might assume that with hundreds of millions of women impacted, the systems designed to help would just be flooded with people seeking sanctuary. But the data tells a completely different story. Less than 40% of women who experience violence actually seek help of any kind. That leaves a massive silent majority, over 60%, who just don't or simply can't reach out for support. So this obviously begs the question, why? Why are so many survivors navigating this kind of trauma completely off the radar?
Well, to figure out why they remain silent, we have to look at where survivors actually go when they do look for support. And it turns out they rely mostly on their informal networks, their family and friends. They actively avoid formal institutions. In fact, less than 10% of those seeking help go to the police. So the big takeaway here is that there is a massive systemic gap. Society just kind of expects people to survive a crisis and go back to living normally without real support. But formal institutions are clearly failing to be the safe havens they're supposed to be.
And that staggering lack of trust and care, that is exactly where our solution enters the picture. Red Sin Fronteras, or Network Without Borders. Their mission is super clear, and I love this quote. We envision a world in which we can live without violence. Meanwhile, we create mutually supportive spaces to cultivate healing holistically, defying national boundaries. It's such a profound shift in perspective. Instead of relying on those formal systems we just saw failing to reach most survivors, Red Sin Fronteras is building a totally grassroots alternative from the ground up.
The whole thing actually started because they identified a very specific local gap. Red Sin Fronteras realized that providing care to women of indigenous origin facing violence is a massive challenge, particularly in places like Connecticut. We're talking about women who might be dealing with extreme language barriers, cultural disconnection, and a total lack of traditional community support while navigating trauma so far away from home. Recognizing that unique vulnerability right there in Connecticut is what really pushed them to build something much, much bigger. Okay, let's dive into this setup because it's fascinating. This isn't just about offering local counseling. It's about building an actual physical and economic bridge. On one side, you have New Haven, Connecticut. On the other, Oaxaca, Mexico. Their big goal is to open a sanctuary in Oaxaca, but it's directly linked to a product distribution center all the way up in Connecticut. Because violence doesn't care about borders, right? So their solution refuses to be bound by them either. They are literally connecting these two places to create one unified healing ecosystem.
The strategy behind this is brilliant and super actionable. Step 1 is running that center in New Haven to distribute products made by women in Oaxaca. Step 2 is generating funds through those exact sales. And step 3? They channel those funds right back down to buy land and build the physical shelter in Oaxaca. They aren't just asking for charity, they are creating a self-sustaining economic engine. The incredible artistry and labor of Oaxacan women is directly funding the sanctuary meant to protect and heal them.
And their core goals go way beyond just throwing together an emergency shelter. It's an incredibly warm, holistic approach. Yes, they are facilitating spaces for healing, but they're equally focused on strengthening the economy for women in Oaxaca. It's about real financial independence, which is absolutely crucial for escaping violent situations. Plus, they're focused on cross-border mutual support and, beautifully, helping indigenous women reconnect with their traditional practices, arts, and medicine. It's just this amazing full-circle approach to reclaiming autonomy.
Now, learning about all this is great, but getting involved is even better. If this explainer has you wondering how you can help mutual aid transcend borders, there's a really direct way to do it. Red Sin Fronteras is actively fundraising right now to buy that specific piece of land for the shelter in Oaxaca. And the coolest part is they're using a platform called Zephy for the campaign. By using Zephy, they ensure that 100% of your donation goes directly to the mission. No sneaky platform fees eating into your contribution. Every single cent goes to that land and to helping survivors.
Which brings us to our final thought. We started out looking at this overwhelming global statistic, 736 million women. And it is so easy to feel completely powerless against numbers like that. But today, we've explored a highly structured, fiercely compassionate, and really practical solution that proves we are absolutely not powerless. We can actually support alternative networks that respect cultural heritage and build real economic strength. So I'll leave you with this to chew on. In a world where violence crosses all boundaries, will you help build a sanctuary without borders? Thanks so much for joining me for this explainer. Keep learning, and I'll see you next time.